Hello and welcome students to Lab 8, a demonstration of the iodine clock reaction, or at least one version of it. The overall reaction we will be studying can be seen below. Here we have two iodides in solution interacting with a version of thiosulfate. This is S2O8 with a 2- charge. When these two reactants come together, we are going to produce some I2, some iodine in solution, and sulfate. There are no phases included here. Every phase that we're going to be working with is aqueous. There's no gases, no solids being produced, so keep in the back of your mind, aqueous conditions will be here. Now the first reaction, or rather the overall reaction that we're going to be studying, now here we have labeled as equation 1. The reason being is, in order to get some kinetic information about equation 1, we are going to have to be a little creative. The reason being is that each of these substances in solution, in aqueous solution, especially at the concentrations we're working with, are clear and colorless. There's no signal when the reaction is finished. So in order to get some information about this reaction, we're going to have to get creative about how we're going to signal when this reaction is going to be done, right? We need a color change, we need a heat signature, we need to know when this reaction is actually finished. So we're going to go with color. We're going to generate some color, and the way that we're going to do that is by taking the I2, that is a product from equation 1, and to the solution then we are also going to be adding some S2O3 2-. Now what this is going to do is interact with the I2, with the iodine, and this is going to be generating some product. Now one of the products we can see is actually I-. We are creating some more iodide in solution. We are also though going to be creating some S4O6. Now the generation of the S4O6 with a 2- charge is not going to create any type of color in the solution. Each of these substances in equation 2 is also clear and colorless in solution, but we're going to be taking advantage of the S2O3 2- being used up and generating this product as a limiting reactant. So the first two equations are inherently linked. One is generating product for the other. So how can we break out of this infinite loop in a way that is going to give us the outcome we want, where equation 1 is going to be the equation that we are studying, and equation 2 is just going to be kind of subsidiary? Well, what we can do is add starch to the reaction. Adding starch to the reaction is going to give us a way to remove one of the products from this infinite loop cleverly. We're going to be removing the product from equation 1, creating a competitive situation between equations 2 and equations 3, since both of them need iodine, that I2, in order to progress. Equation 3, though, is not going to create a feedback loop with equation 1 or equation 2. Instead, iodine and starch are known to form a dark blue product. I'm not giving you the specific chemical formula of this because starch is a very complicated molecule. The product itself is pretty complicated, so we're just leaving it being labeled as a dark blue product. Okay, the second equation is known to be a fast equation. So because equation 2 is the fast reaction, it will be eating through its reactant much more quickly, generating product. The product of equation 2 then is going to feed back into equation 1, which is going to again feed into both equations 2 and equations 3. Eventually, equation 2 will be outcompeted by equation 3 because equation 3 is going to be eating away at that iodine, slowly creating some of that dark blue product. Eventually, when all of the iodine is gone, which signals that all of the iodide, the I-, is gone, we will get this very quick change into dark blue product. In other words, if we are following this reaction symbolically from beginning to end, we can almost rearrange the chemicals that are going to be eaten up quickly. So we have I2, which is going to be generating I- very quickly in the second equation, this fast equation, which is going to feed back, yes, into equation 1, regenerating I2-, which the second equation can competitively use up, but only until all of its secondary reactant is gone. Once the secondary reactant is gone, the I2-, or the I2 from the I- is going to very quickly then be used up by equation 3, generating solely dark blue product, and the overall network of equations are going to be finished. So the generation of this dark blue product is inherently linked or intrinsically linked to the decomposition of the S2O3 2- from equation 2. This is going to be ultimately what we are going to be measuring, times, durations of time based on how long it takes to generate that dark blue product, and then we can calculate some rates using the concentrations of the I-, the S2O8 2-, and the S2O3 2-, which we will see in a little bit. So let's get into the actual reaction. So here I'm going to be grabbing some of that S2O3 2-, which is from equation 2, and we are going to be pouring it into the beaker. Similarly, we're going to grab some of that starch from equation 3. So we're getting the substances that we need for the reaction to progress. Like the linkers are going to be in the first big beaker, and that I- we're going to set aside. We don't want to start the reaction yet early. Here we have the other major reactant from equation 1, the S2O8 2-, that we are also going to place in a second, or a third now, beaker. What's going to happen is we are going to combine each of these reactants into the large beaker, and as soon as the pouring occurs, the reaction has started. Now, what is happening in this beaker, although it may look like nothing is happening, here we actually have that interconnected equation 1, equation 2, and equation 3. We do not see, at least with our eyes, any generation of that blue product yet, since the blue product again is being, or that equation 3 is competitively interacting against equation 2, and currently equation 2 is winning. But once all of the S2O3 2- gets eaten up, that equation 3 is going to take over very quickly, and we are going to see a rapid generation of blue product. So while we wait, enjoy some of the music, and let's get a timestamp once the blue product is starting to form. All right, and there we go. As the blue product starts to kick in, we take time, a time measurement, right? Or we call time, we take a time measurement as the blue product begins to appear. That signals the decomposition completely of the S2O3 2-, and now we have this beautiful blue color in solution. But overall, if we want to understand the reaction, or the reaction kinetics of this reaction, we have to take multiple time trials. Multiple trials where we are going to start varying the initial concentrations. So for example, let's see how the timestamp is going to differ if now in trial 2 we take half the initial concentration of I-. All right, so we're going to have the exact same chemical setup. We're going to grab some of that S2O3 2- and some more of our starch, and we're going to place it in a beaker alongside some KCl. So this KCl is not explicitly involved in the chemical equation, but it is going to help to make up some of the volume difference and balance up the number of ions in solution. Since we can see here the concentration of the I- that I'm going to be adding is the exact same, how we are going to vary the concentration is actually add half the volume. So we are halving the volume of the I-, keeping the volume consistent thanks to the KCl, which is going to ultimately cut that concentration in half. So now that we have half the concentration of the I- alongside that S2O8 2- now being added into our beaker, we're going to give it a swirl for around 30 seconds, and then we're going to let it sit and see how the timestamp is going to differ. How is the rate of the reaction going to change now that we have cut the one of the initial concentrations of one of our reactants in half? Right? Is the rate going to also be cut in half? Is the rate going to double? Is the rate not going to change? These are the questions that we're going to be asking, and the time it takes for this reaction to finish is going to give us some information about the reaction. So let's just sit, let's wait, hang out while the reaction is finishing, enjoy the sweet music that is playing in the background, and we'll come back together when the timestamp has occurred. just sitting and waiting for things to happen. Right, and there we have it. Now the blue color is starting to arise in solution after the vicious battle between equations 1, equations 2, and equations 3. Now we have this beautiful blue color in solution as the iodine ultimately was eaten up by the starch, giving us this color change that has signaled the end of the reaction. So now we can compare trial 1 to trial 2. With these preliminary results, we can see that we cut the concentration of one of our reactants in half, and the time it took for the reaction to finish was approximately twice as long. So as a part of the post-lab assignment then, or the lab assignment corresponding to this video, I have a number of time stamps for 5 different trials where we are varying the concentration of I- or the S2O8 2-. And in working through those calculations, you're going to be able to figure out what is the rate law expression overall, what is the rate constant overall for this equation, what is the half-life of the reactants, etc. What is a possible mechanism for the reaction? I know, I'm sure you're all so excited to work through those calculations. But thank you for listening, thank you for watching, good luck on those calculations, and if you have any questions, again, do not hesitate to shoot me an email, as you guys have been doing. I encourage that absolutely 100%. We're reviewing kinetics now, not only in prep a little bit for the next exam where the reaction mechanisms and half-life concepts are going to be on exam 4, but also the final is coming up not too far away. So it's going to be a good idea to review some of these earlier concepts. I will stop rambling though. Good luck on your assignment, good luck on the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you all later.